This your boy G. Welcome back to another episode of A Positive Spin, the talk show, where we promote positivity, creativity, perseverance, and passion. Today I got a very special guest, my boy Jeff Williams.
Yes, sir.
The author, the designer, the extraordinaire, the advocate. Man, the list goes on. Yo, Jeff, welcome to A Positive Spin, bro.
Yo, thanks for having me today. I couldn't be in a better place than right here.
You already know. We're going to talk about it today. You know, we're going to let the world know who you are, what you're doing. I know some of the world knows, but we want the whole world to know.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we're going to put this on a map because each one helps one and all of that good stuff. But, bro, I've been inspired since, like, the day I met you, bro. We probably met, like, probably over 10 years now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Word, you was one of the first people in the chair that I saw just like living, you feel me? Like,
Yeah.
you had the Beamer, you had the T-Rex and all of that. I'm like, yo, my man Jeff, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel, you know? And if you keep looking up, you could get there. So
Definitely.
I want to definitely tell you, let you know, give you your flowers, you know, right now while we on the show. But yeah, today we're going to talk about it. So let the audience know where you're from, bro.
Well, I grew up in Harlem on 149th Street between 7th and 8th. Then I later on moved to the Bronx, to Highbridge. So I rep both the Bronx and Harlem.
Okay, say that. So my talk show is not really much about your disability, but I know your disability inspired you to do so many incredible things. You know, some of the things that you probably have done, you wouldn't have done if you didn't have your disability.
Definitely.
Probably like writing that book right there, because that
Absolutely.
inspired the book. But let me know, like, let the audience know, how did you get injured, bro? Because I always tell them, you know, I got injured by a gunshot, but how you got injured,
I
bro?
got shot also when I
Okay.
was 13 years old. One of my friends and my brother, we was in the house playing with a gun, and my friend accidentally shot me, and I ended up paralyzed at 13 years old.
Okay. I mean, I got injured at 17, so I'm like, I know, you know, like being a kid, a teenager, getting injured, it's like a drastic change in your life because your life, you're expecting it to go one way, and then when you get suffer an injury or, you know, get shot and survive it,
Right.
then your life starts going another way, and you don't know where it's gonna go a lot of times because, like me personally, when I got injured, there wasn't a lot of people that around me that I knew that had a disability, let alone a spinal cord injury. So it was like me against the world. Like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to start or how to integrate back into the community. But you know, shout outs to my friends and stuff. They always kept me around. Like, yo, let's go to the club, let's go to a party, things like that. Which really, you know, showed me that, you know, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna integrate. I'm just another person, no matter if these wheels, you know, or if I'm walking. It doesn't really matter. It's who you are. So like, with you, like, so how was it like going to school, things of that nature? Because you know you got injured at 13, so what's that, like junior high school?
Junior high school.
Yeah.
I mean, what was tough for me, I got injured 40-some years ago.
Okay.
So I got shot in 1982, and the ADA wasn't developed till 1990. So when I got in a wheelchair, it wasn't even like people would hide people in wheelchairs. Families was, you know, felt embarrassed if they had a kid in a wheelchair. Parents didn't want to be, you know, deal with that situation, things like that. So when I came outside, I was probably the first person that I ever remember really navigating in a wheelchair, like living a regular, normal life, showing up at parties, showing up at roller skating rinks, you know, driving cars,
living
things
your
like
life,
that. Yeah,
really
living my best life. You know what I mean?
That's what I like to hear.
I mean, what was great for me is, like you said, I had a great support system. My friend Lamar, Bonnie, a couple of my friends, you know, they refused to let me be in a wheelchair. They was like, no, Jeff, you know, whatever we do, you do.
Yeah.
So they carried me up flights of stairs. Wasn't no accessibility. Wasn't no elevators on the trains. I mean, that's pretty much how I went to school every day. They carried me on the train, and you know, it just gave me that lane.
Okay, all right. So it probably gave you that fire, you
Definitely.
know, and plus it lights an ambition, you know?
Right, exactly.
A lot of times when, like with me, when I got injured, I think I became way more ambitious.
Yeah, definitely.
Because a lot of people told me no, and I can't. And I always wanted to show them, like, nah, it's not, I'm not going to be like that. Yeah,
I know it's motivation.
Yeah, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. You know, I always use one of your lines now, too, that 2 + 2 = 4, 3 + 1 = 4.
Yeah.
I love that line right there because it's so
math
true.
And figure it out.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's so true. So you get injured, you go to school, you graduate high school.
Yes.
So then where you go? You go to college or do you go to work? Because that's always the dilemma.
I ended up graduating from Cardinal Hayes.
Okay.
And then I went to John Jay College. I wanted to be a criminal lawyer.
Okay.
So I started studying law, because one of the things when I got injured, my mother said, look, if you're going to be in a wheelchair, you can't not have an education and be in a wheelchair. So you got to educate yourself. You got to basically use your mind to dominate everything else around you.
Shout outs to my moms too. She told me the same thing. Like it's pretty much the same word, just a different way.
When I met your mother, it was almost like talking to my mother. That's
what you met my moms. Yeah. Cause like she told me like, you know, this wheelchair is nothing. There's a whole world out there and life is gonna go on. And that was real. Like and once you get discharged out of that rehab or the acute facility, it's life now. It's real life, you know. So shout outs to your moms for, you know, instilling that in you at, you know, right away, early on in your injury. So boom. So what it was like now we're going into the workforce, because I know there's challenges with going into the workforce as well. You know, there's certain accommodations you might need and the company might not understand. So can you explain any challenges?
What was great with me going to work, I ended up running into a friend of mine's, and they asked me if I wanted to interview for this job.
Okay.
And I was really excited about, you know, the interview.
Okay.
And, you know, I had my fears like, okay, how would the other employees respond? How would people treat me? Like, will that interview be an issue with me being in a wheelchair and what people think I can't do versus who I really am? And all I asked was just judge me on my skills and not on what you see, you know? And they gave me that opportunity. They gave me that just one break situation, and I ended up landing a job, and I started working for a Fortune 500 company in the mailroom, and I took the job in the mailroom, even though at the time I was qualified to do more. But that was my entryway in. That was the way, you know, for me to get in the company.
Your foot in your door right there.
So I took that step, and I just worked my way from that, and ended up working in their legal department, where I've been for the last 30 years.
Shout outs to you, man. Shout outs to you, because there's a lot of able-bodied people that can't keep a job for more than 5 days.
Exactly.
So you held that job now for 30 years. And I think that's a testament for anybody out there, no matter what you're going through. There's possibility. You can go back to work. You can drive a car. All of those things that you thought was over, you still could do.
Definitely.
So Jeff is a living example of never giving up and showing that as long as you got a little bit of ambition and education, it could go far. You could go very far. So talk to me about the book. Let's go to the books, then I'm going to go back, because I read the book. The book is incredible. I don't want to give out any spoilers, but anybody out there that's listening, go get that book. The link is in the bio, definitely.
Definitely.
So what inspired you to write the book?
Before you answer that.
Thank you.
So what inspired me to write this book? When I got a phone call one day, and one of my friends said, Jeff, you know, one of my friends, her boyfriend got shot. He's in the hospital. You know, my friend named Ed. And, you know, would you go see him? So I decided, I said, yeah, of course. Because once I got in the chair, that was something that was real passionate to me, to be that light for anybody else that's in the chair, whether I knew them or not.
Facts.
I'm going to show up no matter what. That was just something dear to my heart, that somebody gave me that inspiration, that, you know, people that I didn't even know would come to the hospital. I see them walking down the parallel bars, things like that. That inspired me and gave me hope. So I wanted to be that same light for somebody else. So I ended up going to the hospital, and they was telling me, like, you know, he was going through a lot. He was depressed. He was in a situation. And I remember when I rolled in that room, I didn't even say nothing to him. And immediately I saw the light in him. And what gave him that light, he saw hope. And he saw something that looked like him and what it could become.
That's incredible, man, right there. That's real. You know, that's one of the reasons why I try to do so much stuff for the community. Because I try to give people hope, you know. I remember being in the hospital, being in that bed, thinking my life was like pretty much over. Like I wasn't going to amount to anything or couldn't do anything. I was going to be like a burden to my parents and always dependent on somebody. And then something just clicked in me. Like I like something lit a fire, because tell you what, I would keep it 100. A dude came in to like mentor me, and he was looking crazy. And I'm like, I can't look like that. I'm 17. Like, and he's telling me about girls and stuff, and he's like, oh, you won't be able to do this, and I'm like, you bugging, bro. My doctor didn't tell me that, and then I got swag, bro.
Right,
I'm not like you. So, you know, things like that, you know, I try to be that light. You know, I don't ever try to bring anybody down, and I never tell nobody no that wants help. You know,
definitely.
If you hit me up at any time asking me for help, no matter what I got going on, I'm gonna help you. You feel me? Because this is a tough injury right here.
And then one of the other powerful points, like one of my biggest chapters in that book is chapter 4, which is about this girl named Melissa.
Okay.
She was in a wheelchair, 7 years old. She had a brain tumor, and she ended up having brain cancer.
Okay.
And every morning she would roll in my room, and she would always be real happy. And when I first got in the chair, I'm thinking, like, how can you be happy in a wheelchair? But this little girl at 7 was so happy and so positive that I started to pull that energy. And she would say to me one day, I was crying, and she said to me, you know, Jeff, when you think you have it bad, somebody else has it worse.
Facts.
Every time I tried to cry after that, it would just bother me because I thought about that. And I'm saying, I can't keep feeling sorry for myself when there's so many other people out here that's going through a bigger struggle than what I'm dealing with. And that was something else that kind of motivated me to get me to change that, you know, direction.
That's real right there. Honestly, what motivated me was when I was in the rehab hospital, I was amongst children as well. And these are kids that never had the chance to play football, never had the chance to play basketball, never had the chance to run. Some of them was terminally ill with like stage 4 cancer, you know, and they was happy. They was happy every day. So I'm like, yo, I can't keep crying and, you know, being down. I got to get up. You feel me? And these kids is going to help me get up. You know, I'm going to do it for them because I know that when I got injured, I knew there was something bigger for me. I knew I had a bigger purpose, you know, for it to just happen to me the way it happened. I was like, oh, I got a bigger purpose than just the issue or the incident. You feel me? Life is going to go on and so many great things will happen. So let's talk about you and real estate broken, how you got into real estate, because I think that being in real estate is an opportunity to gain wealth, you know, financial freedom. That's something that we need in our community, especially, you know, in the urban communities, you know, and inner city areas. We need that. So, like, how did you get into it? Let's talk about it.
I ended up, like, I got to give thanks to Kim Parker.
Okay.
A friend of mine, she had her own real estate company, and she saw, like, how outgoing I was, and she believed in me. And she said, Jeff, I think you would be good at real estate. You know a lot of people. You like talking to people, and you're a people's person, right?
Yeah, facts.
So I ended up going to get my license. I passed the real estate test, and I started working under her company. So my first deal was in the Bronx on 167th Street and Anderson Avenue. My friend KD, his sister was selling her apartment.
Okay.
And he gave me the listing. He connected us. So and that became one of my first real estate deals. And what was really exciting about it, when clients would come and they see me in a wheelchair and I'd be in the lobby and they like, you know, oh, did you see the real estate agent here? You know, they just kind of overlooked me, which always motivated me, right? So I said, I am the agent. And that look on their face was just like priceless, you know, because they couldn't believe what they were seeing. But what that did for me is show me that I'm breaking these doors down. I'm making them respect
There is no barrier.
Exactly.
Because I'm going to tell you a story that happened recently with me. Me and my man Marcus, we ran down to the store in Harlem. And the store was closed. But I told Marcus from jump, like, we going there. Like, let me not say run down. We rolled down on the store. I'm like, he's like, yo, you not going to call them or nothing? I'm like, nah, we showing up and they going to see us and they going to fuck with us just because who we are. And us taking the initiative of just going to that store. We get to the store, it's closed.
Oh, man.
He like, we might as well wait. We here now. They told us, like, yo, dude going to come in 30 minutes. He came in like 5 minutes. It was like just fate. And then when he seen us, like,
it was automatic.
Yeah, like, yo, we really mean business, you know? We not coming here just to laugh, giggle. No, we have a product. We want it in your store. We gonna run down on you and put it in your store.
Definitely.
Like, that's the mindset you gotta have, especially, you know, being in a chair. You know, people gonna overlook you until they see you at that doorstep. Like, oh, nah, you here now. Word. So what's some of your future goals, bro?
I mean, one of the things I want to work on now is opening up a real estate business to help other people with disabilities become real estate agents.
I think that's great.
And, you know, getting people the opportunity, like you said, to have real cash flow, you know, own their first homes and not just being ruled out where, you know, it's always like when we talk about housing, it's always Section 8.
Section 8 apartments, right. Yeah, you know, they never talk about ownership, homes, you know.
I want to see people in wheelchairs in universal design houses that's already accessible. I hate the fact that I own a couple of properties, and every house that I bought, I had to end up doing all these accommodations, wider doors, ramps in my house, stuff like that. I just feel like if I already bought the house, let me roll in here and the ramp is already there. So you're going to build a house that I got to turn around and tear it down. Yeah. So I feel like
it should be laws, and we should come together. There's got to be some type of laws or lobbying that we could do for that, because I feel like just like an able-bodied going by a house, it's already accessible for them. When we go to buy a house, it should be accessible for us.
Exactly, and our cars as well. I mean, we buying $100,000 vehicles, and then I got to take the car, tear it apart, pull the dashboard out to put hand controls and stuff like that.
Especially if you need like a lift or
ramps,
a removable seat, you know. So I do agree with you on that. Actually, it's funny though, because one time I created not a stir with Acura. When I had an Acura, I went to the dealership, and when I dropped my car off the dealership, I asked for a loaner. They was like, we don't have a loaner with a hand control. So I'm like, but you offer a loaner to every able-bodied person here. Why you can't offer me a loaner? It was like, oh, we just can't. So I was like, all right. So me, I don't leave. I gotta voice my opinion. I gotta voice myself so I can let people know that you're just not gonna play with me. Absolutely. If something is wrong, something is wrong. So I told him, like, how you gonna accommodate me? Because this is obviously discrimination.
Definitely.
So then they like, all right, tell you what, I'll give you free lifts. I was taking those lifts to Pennsylvania. I was going crazy on those lifts. I was wilding on those lifts, man, like 3-hour rides and stuff. Because I'm like, nah, y'all could have just gave me a loaner and it would have costed a lot less than giving me a lift, unlimited lifts for that particular time when my car was being serviced.
And to all our viewers, to that point, when you get denied what to do to us, don't just let that go.
Oh, nah.
Knock that door down for other people.
Don't take no as an answer, you know? Because if you take no as an answer, they're going to keep telling you no. And I'm one of those people that I don't get told no. Like, it's very rare I'm told no.
Right.
Word. So yo, Jeff, so let's talk about the shoe design, bro. Before I forget, we got to talk about J. Lorenzo and the shoes.
So J. Lorenzo is my sneaker brand, and I ended up making some J. Lorenzo sneakers. Each one of my sneakers have a motivational quote inside of the sneaker.
Say that.
And the reason why I made the sneakers, I wanted something that related to walking, since I lost the use of walking. And I wanted a motivational quote. So just like we have a positive spin on this show, I wanted a positive spin when you wake up in the morning, like some brother that was up here earlier where he said he woke up negative. I want you to read that quote and wake up positive and start your day positive. No matter what you're going through in life, I want you to always feel like I'm going to start out positive so the rest of my day can go positive.
Give my man a round of applause for that, bro. Because that's all I preach, man. Positivity and good energy. You know, I always tell people, like, it doesn't matter what happened yesterday. Yesterday is over. You owe it to yourself to wake up happy every day.
Exactly.
And happiness is your responsibility. You can't let nobody take your happiness from you. So
the same way you create that negativity and all that anger, you got to come up with this positive side where, you know what, yeah, I'm going through a lot, but it's not going to get better if you keep it negative. So if you want to change the trajectory on how you feeling, then do something positive, think positive. And people that know me personally will tell you most of the time, no matter what situation I'm in, life and death, I'm still positive.
Yo, tap in with my man right here, Jeff. He's the preaching that positivity right now. And that's what we all about. Because I think the world could be a much better place if everybody have a positive mindset. So this is a part of the show where I do rapid fire questions. So I'm going to spit some questions at you. It's going to be a couple, about 5 to 7 questions. And yeah, I just want to know your answer on them. So for the first question, what's your favorite type of food?
Well, I'm a big Chick-fil-A fan, so...
Come on, bro.
That's my
no
favorite.
Chick-fil-A. Can't get like this with the Chick-fil-A.
My guns ain't little, though. All right, the guns is crazy.
Under that jacket.
I'm cut up under the jacket.
All right, so Chick-fil-A. What's your favorite color?
I like black.
What's your favorite sports team?
I like the Chiefs, of course. Mahomes all the way.
It sounds like a bandwagon right there.
Yeah, Mahomes all the way.
What's their favorite time of year?
I like the summer because I'm out more and, you know, I get to ride my motorcycle that I have. So I love the summer.
You stunting. I seen you, bro. And what's your favorite designer, Fly Guy?
If I'm going to go in the design, it got to be Jay Lorenzo, because that's who I am.
You heard? And you got to tap in with Red's Denim, too.
Yes, sir. You got to collab. That's a fact.
Yo, Jeff, so this is what we about to do right now. This is the wheel time.
All right.
So we're going to spin the wheel, and wherever it lands, you got to hold that event down.
Absolutely.
All right? So I'm going to spin it for you. Let's see where it lands. Oh, it's going fast today. Read something uplifting. Oh,
you already know what it is.
So you got to do that within the next 2 weeks.
I'm going to read this to one of my people that's in a wheelchair and inspire and motivate them so they can carry this
And make sure you tag a positive spin when you do it so we can hold you accountable.
Definitely.
Of your positive activity for the day. So, yeah, Jeff, man, I think we covered a lot. I think a lot of my audience will be very inspired by hearing, all the things, the great points that you made, all the great things that you said today. I would love to have you come back on the show.
Yeah, of course.
Anytime. It's a pleasure having you. You're family, bro. So
absolutely. Whenever
you say, gee, I want to pull up, you just pull up, bro. We get you on. You may even co-host, whatever. You feel me, bro? But, yo, Jeff.
And I want to shout out the Helen Floyd Nursing School.
Okay.
Some of the money from my book sales I donate to the nurses, because I feel like the nurses are the first impact when somebody has an injury.
They hold us down.
So I have a whole lot of respect for nurses.
We curse them out and they hold us down each and every day.
They got to deal with all our anger when these injuries first
all of us saying no and get out of my room and
all of that.
Don't come back till why you waking me up.
Something else I want to shout out too.
Shout out. What else?
The fact that you're in the Olympics, I know you doing the interviewing, but I can't let that go because,
bro.
A lot of people tell me, Jeff, I look up to you, I respect you, but I really admire that about you.
Thanks,
and I respect that about you because
when
I remember when you first was on your way to the Olympics, I think you went to Hong Kong or China, one of them spots.
Tokyo, I've been to Tokyo,
And I mean, just watching the videos, watching you on the gram, and having been honored to know you and know somebody that when we always watch the Olympics, but when I see somebody that I know in the Olympics, that's a whole nother level. That's a whole nother level. So that's something in our world, it's hard to get there.
Yeah, and that's why we keep grinding, You keep doing your real estate, you keep selling those books and those shoes. I'm going to keep selling clothes and lifting weights and doing what I do, trying to motivate the world and create that positive energy that we're creating right now. So, y'all got to tap in with Jeff, tap in with Red's Denim, tap in with a positive spin, because we here, we doing our thing. And, stay tuned for the next episode. We out.